Greetings. One of the things we may want to do is to be a man who physically, spiritually, and socially is healthy, strong, and fit. Sometimes we make the mistake of getting fit before we know what we want to accomplish. We may then be fit for nothing. This is The Practicing Christian, and this week's report is on self-care for disciples. Quote, "Be careful what you wish for, lest it come true," close quote. It's a very old saying, too old for attribution. It belongs next to the caution about, quote, "too much of a good thing," close quote. Although here we can do an attribution. It's from Shakespeare in As You Like It, Act 4, Scene 1, where Orlando and Rosalind banter over love. We can banter about what's good for us. This banter teaches us to examine carefully which self-care strategies we might want to use or to avoid. The current vogue for self-care reveals its goals when we simply look at some of the things it's dreaming, hoping, and working for. For example, we could start with 4 basic groups of self-care content: physical, emotional, social, and spiritual self-care. Physical self-care could begin with sleep, stretching, walking, physical release, healthy food, yoga, and rest. Emotional self-care might include stress management, emotional maturity, forgiveness, compassion, and kindness. Social self-care could involve boundaries, support systems, positive social media, communication, time together, asking for help. The spiritual group might include time alone, meditation, nature, journaling, and sacred space. Okay, the average, fairly secular person would quarrel with little or none of this. But let's remind ourselves that for the average person, each individual and each part of his body and mind has what Aristotle called a telos, a purpose. We can fairly well see what the purposes of these elements of self-care do, but when you put them all together, what is the purpose being served by having done all this self-care? I mean, are we then like toy steam engines that heat water with electricity while the engine thumps and whirls and puffs steam out while the parts move, but without doing anything? Discovering those purposes is a good thing to do before signing on to a program of self-care that may, for example, enhance our ability to paint delicate colors on porcelain, while our purpose might actually be to build dry stone walls. Many in the self-care movement will begin straight out with the idea that you can become whatever you wish to be. It's like Frank Sinatra. I did it my way. That, however, is the direct opposite of what many Christians would think and feel and say. They might say, I've been redeemed. I'm no longer just mine. I'm His, thank God. I want to find out what He wants of me. That gets me to my truest, strongest telos, or purpose. So you're doing it not just for yourself, but for God. This is a dividing line between many worthy folk and the practicing Christian. Christians often go from Isaiah 11, 1-2, where we see the spiritual gifts that the Messiah brings to and shares with us, to the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, 3-12, the gifts to which God calls us, and then 1 Corinthians 12, 1-10, where more gifts, more specific gifts, are illustrated that we may have listed for ourselves. Carl Jung was a Swiss psychoanalyst who nailed over his doorway a carved sign that said, "Called or not, God is present." He worked out a way to uncover which of these gifts we were given. Each of us has a different set. Myers and Briggs, a mother and daughter team of psychologists, developed a more detailed way to understand what we're gifted with. It's the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, using Jung's insights to discover where God is leading us to. Many use the MBTI, as it's known, and prayerful spiritual insights to discover what God may intend for them and for which he has provided our basic talent set. Now, if you want a free MBTI equivalent done by another organization, see humanmetrics.com/CGI-WIN/JTYPES2.ASP. Okay. Much self-care is totally okay with God. Treating sugar as poison allows your body to remain free of diabetes and working with the way God wants it to work. Tennis and soccer can deliver us aggressive sports without the same risk for TBI, traumatic brain injury, that others may deliver. On the other hand, in many military medals since World War I, the star has represented honor, glory, and constancy. Now, we Christians read in 1 Corinthians 10:31, quote, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do everything for the glory of God," close quote. If there's any glory that falls from God's grace to us, we can say thank you. But let's not make ourselves the focal point of glory. He is. So when we clear out a garage or lose weight, let what we do be for the glory of God. Find a good home for what you get rid of, or where someone can use it. Let the extra energy you have from lost weight go to prayer, witnessing, or helping others. The Christian money management teacher Dave Ramsey teaches men that, quote, "God wants us to build his kingdom for his glory," close quote. All that we do can be seen as work devoted to the Lord, to whom we signed over our lives joyfully, to be on his team forever. In the same way, a loving husband makes every decision thinking, how can this help bring my darling more joy, more health, more fulfillment than she has right now? Of course, you understand that the amazing thing about this is that when you place God at the center of your life, and perhaps your darling right next to him, everything seems to work out better for you than things do for your friends who seem always to be trying to find a quick, slick way to get ahead, or who neglect their darling, hoping she won't notice. And we are more like gamblers at a roulette wheel than pilgrims on a journey to a fabulous city on a hill. Let's go back for a moment and see how generalized self-care projects can leave us either with no telos, no purpose, or can simply make us feel good without changing us. For example, stress management, emotional maturity, and the emotional list just above can be set up to give you focused power and purpose for a given direction, or can just numb you out. Similarly, two of the social self-care concerns, communication and time together, can leave you with more enjoyment of others and more good chat, but nothing worth writing home about. A man can get himself elected to be governor of his state and have learned all the tricks and techniques of getting things done, but if he has no sense of overall purpose in what he's doing, history will soon forget him. On the other hand, a father who has determined that his purpose is to rear children who are strong, confident Christians with generous spirits, can be remembered for generations. Quote, whatever your task, put yourselves into it, as done for the Lord and not for men, since you know that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You serve the Lord Christ. Close quote. That's from Colossians 3, 23, 24. Take good care of yourself as you do this, for God knows that if you do, you won't be like a wrung-out dish rag at the end of this life, but a man with a sense of joy, glowing within himself. Serve then, be the king's right arm.